Hey everybody, if you're watching the pre-show for the next 4 or 5 minutes, I'm going to put some music back on and mute my microphone, but I'm here just finishing up a few settings and that sort of thing. So if you're new around here, then I'd love to know where you're watching from. Let me know in the comments or the chat section over on YouTube. And also, if you have a question for tonight's show on live streaming, then please do use the letter Q before your question so that I can find them quicker. And with that, I'll get back to a bit of music so that we can just get the last few things sorted here. If you're just coming into the room, make yourself at home for a couple of minutes. I'm just putting the finishing touches to the setup on my side, and we'll go live with a proper stream at 6 o'clock UK time. So if you're here, let me know. That'd be great to see in the comments, please, over on YouTube. And if you have a question for tonight's show, then obviously please put it in the chat and use a Q, letter Q before your question, and that way I'll be able to find it quicker. Thank you. It's as if I timed that. Good evening, everybody, or good morning if you're in the States. Welcome to this week's live show with your host, Ryan Soper Powell. For those of you who've not met me before, I'm a business growth coach and strategist based in the UK, but working with clients in different parts of the world. And my focus is on helping ambitious founders and growth-minded leaders of software and services companies to scale, to set them up for scale. But we're not here really to talk about me in that regard tonight. We're here to talk about going live on video. As you would have seen from the thumbnail for this week's show, I'm asking the question whether live video is actually a realistic strategy that you should be thinking about for your business in 2026. So before we get started proper into the content, I'd love to know where you're from. And obviously, I think I've also said, just see if I can work the technology here. I'd love to know if you have questions, please use the letter Q before them so I can find them easier in the chat over on YouTube. And please don't be shy. It's it can be a lonely business if you're doing a live stream and nobody's interacting with you. So do let me know where you're from and where you're watching from today. It would be great to know. To have an indication of where my audience is tuning in from. So a hearty welcome to all of you. Maybe somebody could just let me know with a thumbs up somewhere if you can actually hear me okay. I obviously have checked this beforehand, so should all be well. You should be able to hear me. I'm just going to double check. Yeah, the sound's coming through on my laptop, so all should be fine. But nevertheless, it would still be nice to know where are you watching from, and yeah, what brings you to the live stream today. Hopefully it's the topic, and we will get into that in just a couple of minutes. And just making sure that all the tech is set and we're ready to go. Okay, so little look around whilst we're waiting for one or two more people perhaps to come into the room. I've got a couple of different setups here for you. So we can basically, I can talk down this camera to you, and I can also talk over here to my laptop, though I don't tend to like to do that. I tend to use this camera in front of me most of the time. And if you're curious how this is all set up, then here you can see kind of an over-the-shoulder shot, if you like, of how my setup is done. So, as I say, tonight we're going to be talking about going live on video. And hopefully this will be useful to you in the days and weeks ahead as you think about how you're going to grow your business in 2026. So whilst you're watching, again, please do, I don't need to remind you, but I'm going to anyway. Please do make sure that in the comments or in the chat, you maybe just let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you've got a question, put a Q before it so I can find you. And hello to Sharon tuning in from India. How great to have you here from that part of the world. I know that my audience in India has definitely taken off a little bit more recently. So that's great to see, and you're most welcome. So anyone else want to stick their hand up and say where they're tuning in from? I'd love to know. Meanwhile, I'm going to get the slides lined up here for us to go through. Now, hopefully it'll be a little bit engaging for you. If you have questions along the way, please do send them in through the chat function over on YouTube. I'll do my best to pick up on them as quickly as possible and bring them to the discussion. But for the time being, let me talk to you about going live on video, because there's a lot of talk about it. And in this era of AI being everywhere, I know that there's amazing technologies coming to the market that allow you to produce videos without you even needing to appear on camera. They look like you, they sound like you, but they're not you. And so I think that the point I want to try and get across today is that you don't need to be as scared about doing video as you might think, especially if you have a strong message or a good product and service that you want to get out to the market. Then I'm going to encourage you to really think about using live video as a way of doing that. We see lots of, that we're used to it now. A few years ago when I started down this path, you didn't really see that much live video around. Now we have TikTok and Instagram Reels and Facebook this and platform that, and LinkedIn Lives now pretty much generally available. Obviously YouTube is being streamed around the world in more countries and to more people than any streaming platform, it seems. So actually we're in at the beginning of an era, I think, where live video is going to be coming into its own. And so let me talk about that in a little bit more detail. It's just a little bit of fun. Everybody's running around with their cameras in their hands, and you know, this might remind you of a trip to a foreign city or a theme park where everybody's, enjoying the experience through their camera lens and not actually taking it in with their own eyes. But I think when it comes to video for your business, there's a few things to bear in mind, and I want to share those with you here today. So, okay, my experience so far. And Sharon, I have seen you've got a question, so I'm going to come back to that in just a couple of minutes if you're okay. Let me tell you a little bit about how we got to where we are today doing this live stream, because it might help. I've been in this space for over 10 years. So for those of you who've LinkedIn stalked me or come across my content along the way, then you'll know that I spent nearly 3 decades in the corporate space working for big software companies, big tech firms, and consultancies like PricewaterhouseCoopers, Virgin, Zendesk, etc. But outside of the corporate career, I've always loved technology and I've always found myself drawn to the world of video. And in 2016, this guy, Joel Comm, came up on my radar. Can't quite remember how, but I'd have to go back down the rabbit warren and find out. But right back in 2016, Joel was the first person to kind of interest me in looking at live video. And in the day, I had an account on Snapchat. I don't use that platform anymore, but on Snapchat, it was all about live video. And I think he and a couple of other people launched some software in that space, which took me on a bit of a journey. And then I came into a community called Live Streaming Pros with Luria Petrucci and David Foster, and they really helped me to level up my game and to kind of get started really with doing live video a little bit more seriously. One of the things that they used to do was to run a challenge every year in April and August, and they would call it Leader Live Every Day in August or Live Every Day in April. And it was just the whole aim of the exercise was to get you to pull out your phone and to go live each day for a short amount of time and talk about something that mattered to you. And the whole point, excuse me, was to get us confident with going live, because this is not scripted. I am not reading from a script. I have prepared the material, but I am not reading from a script. And some of this has come just through sheer willpower, and some of it's come from a bit of practice. But after Luria Petrucci's community, where I spent a couple of years, I became ever more familiar with the work of Pat Flynn. Now, Pat is a phenomenal YouTuber. During the lockdown, the pandemic, he went live on YouTube every single day for over a year. In fact, I think it was more like 2 years. He went every single day live on YouTube and just gave of his time. And he was so generous with that I think it just inspired a load of us to kind of go, my goodness, if he's willing to do that, then okay, sorry, just reading comments again. The point I was trying to make was somebody like Pat, who's very well established in their own right, was going live every single day on YouTube. And then since then has built 2, if not 3 new YouTube channels from scratch. And each of them now in the Pokemon space, not something I'm into personally, but the Pokemon world, if you're into that, you really need to go and check out Pat's other channels, because he's built them from nothing to millions, I mean millions of subscribers. So paying attention to people like this is worthwhile. You find somebody who's a few steps ahead of you on the journey, you try and get into their world and learn from them, and that's really how I got to where I am today. So I would love your questions specifically about doing live video. I know that we have some comments, which I'm going to come to in just a second. But in the meantime, if you have a question, just a little reminder, please put that Q in front of it. and then I'll be able to find the questions that much easier afterwards. All right, so let me just break for a second and have a look and see what have we got here from our friends who are watching on the live stream. I'm just going to switch to the comments a second and we'll have a look, see what have we got from you, Sharon, again. Nothing business, but why so few viewers? You look like you've invested a lot of time and resources. Well, that's very kind of you. I think the honest answer to that is I'm starting over with my YouTube channel. I dabbled with YouTube about 4 years ago. I'm kind of telling a little bit of that backstory now in terms of how I got to starting off with YouTube. But in fairness, this is not my it's not my main living or anything like that. I just I bring a degree of professionalism to the work that I do with my clients. I therefore wanted to try and do the same thing for my live show. I wanted to put a degree of production quality into it. I've modeled myself on other people in this space who I admire, and I've tried to learn from them. So I'm not sure. I'm just putting your comment up here. Yeah, I respect professionalism. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, okay. Well, you don't have to be here, Sharon. You know, every single channel on YouTube starts from zero. So, you know, if you find the content useful, then I hope you'd help spread the word. And then next time there won't be so many, you know, there won't be so few people watching. In the meantime, how about I come back to the content and I'll carry on. Hopefully you'll stick around. Maybe it'll provoke some questions for you. If not, I wish you a very nice day. So let's dive a little bit deeper. I want to take a look first at, if I can drive the slides, some considerations. Why should you think about using live video, and what tends to hold us up or hold us back when we do? First and foremost, reasons that I think live video is something you should be thinking about having a go at. It's an immersive experience. I mean, you are watching me through a computer screen or a phone screen somewhere in the world, and I'm based in the UK, and I'm doing this from my home office. And yes, you know, as Sharon's kindly pointed out, I have a nice setup here. But look, it's not that I went out to the shops and bought all this kit in one go. It's stuff that I've built up over a number of years because this has been something that I've been interested in for that time. But here's the thing. Right now, AI is everywhere. There are lots of AI tools out there. And at the same time, everybody's kind of saying you need to stand out from the crowd. I mean, that's actually my brand promise, is helping you stand out in your field. Now, obviously with AI tools, the temptation is just to let them do all the work for you. But the thing is, I can look down the lens at you and you can tell whether or not I'm a genuine human being. As in, you can see that my eyes are blinking, which is one of the things to watch out for when you're watching AI videos. They don't blink, not yet anyway. Maybe it won't be long before they do. But it can't replace the essence of you. There is still something in the way that we deliver, the way that we try to engage with our audience. Reading of body language and, you know, non-verbal signals is really important. Video is a fantastic way for you to figure out whether or not you like the way that I approach a topic, whether you think that, you know, I add some value to the discussion. So the same thing goes for you. If you are passionate about your topic, if you're passionate about the problems that you solve and the people that you help, then why on earth wouldn't you share that passion with a wider audience by creating video content? And if you take it one step further and, you know, make things a little bit more challenging for yourself and do a live show like this, or turn your phone around and go live on Instagram or whatever, then why wouldn't you do that? It's kind of fun, actually, and it's immersive. We crave connection with other human beings and we like to help. I think that doing a live stream show means that you've got an opportunity to engage with your audience. You can read whether they like your comments or flame you. You can read the room and decide whether or not I need to move on more quickly, these sorts of things. It helps in a way to just build a little bit of rapport with your audience. Similarly, video is fantastic for repurposing. So I record this, and the software that I'm using to record this session allows me to then take the output, the recorded videos, and to chop them up into smaller bits and then use them in the days, weeks, months ahead for smaller snippets on my other social channels. It it might actually feed into a show reel at some point to help me to get more podcasting or speaking engagements, because people can see that by turning up here and delivering content that I like to think I'm at least a little bit engaging, right? So you can repurpose your video content. I can take the transcript of everything that I say here. I can run it through a GPT tool or whatever. I can extract the key messages from it, and I can use those for posts on X or Blue Sky or whatever, should I wish. All right. So you get the idea. There's a lot of reasons why doing live video can be a benefit to your audience and to you as a business owner when you're trying to kind of reach more people. It allows you to give of yourself, to show up in your true, authentic self. And I make no apologies for using the word authentic, because I think in this day and age, with AI here, there, and everywhere, it really matters that people can see that you're the genuine article. Okay. So what tends to hold us back? I mean, obviously, you've probably read the slide ahead of you, but ultimately, there are some questions. We're not sure what to say. That's probably the biggest question I get asked when I'm working with people. It's like, yeah, but what am I going to talk about? Or imposter syndrome. Why would they listen to me? Well, I could ask the same thing, as it's been pointed out earlier in today's live show. There aren't many people watching this yet. It's because I'm starting something new here. There are people way ahead of me with far bigger audiences, but they're saying the same things. So, ultimately, it's about whether it's a good fit for your brand, and it's about you having a message that you feel passionate to share with the world. Okay. You're concerned maybe that you don't have the gear. Well, I'll tell you a little bit more about that in the moment, but you do not need fancy gear to get started with this. Probably the most important one on this slide is about feeling self-conscious on camera. That tends to be the thing that holds us up the most. Almost 3/4 of the population is concerned about public speaking in one form or another. So if you're already a little bit nervous about talking in front of an audience, then possibly doing live video is going to be, at the moment, a step too far. I would encourage you to challenge that thinking. I would encourage you to think about just having one conversation with one person down the lens as if you were talking to a friend, and it makes it one hell of a lot easier. I'll come on to some tips in a couple of minutes. If you're overwhelmed by technology, don't be. There's thousands of tutorials out there, and there are people like me whom you can ask your questions to, and we will help you take those first steps. Okay. And if you're not sure how to take a video from something like this and then publish it, well, if you're doing a live video, you don't really need to worry about that too much, because you're not editing it and you're not publishing it because it's going live onto your channel. So that kind of takes that piece out of the mix. But if you do use software like I am using Ecamm here, and that software then allows you to record the sessions, then you can obviously edit it, fine tune it, put captions onto it for people who are watching it back without the sound on and all that good stuff. Okay, so what about the technology then? As I've said, stop. You don't need to go out and spend a load of money to get started with live streaming. The phone in your pocket is far better than you think, and it's absolutely adequate for doing the job. Okay. What's probably more important, and the first investment you might want to make in hardware, is something to hold your phone steady. And this actually was the very first, I'm just going to come to this camera. This is the very first tripod that I bought to actually stand my phone on when I was doing a daily live video. And the first microphone that I bought to use as well is by this wonderful company, Boyu. Not sure if you, sorry, if you can read that. Up to the camera a little bit closer. Yeah, there we go, Boyu. Now this microphone, if memory serves, was probably no more than about $20 US. It's got a huge cable on the end which you can plug into your phone, and on the other end you've got a lavalier microphone which you can clip onto your top. You don't need fancy equipment, not like some other microphones that I might have around here, like the one that's above my head just out of the shot, or the awesome Video Micro Pro that I have now invested in for doing interviews and things like that. You don't need lots of fancy kit to get started. but the sound quality is probably a little bit more important than the video quality. You'll hear that from people who talk about this. As long as you can hear what I'm saying, then the images that accompany that play second fiddle a little bit. They are less important. However, people don't like shaky cam. Yeah, you might actually like to see you know, what goes on behind the scenes. You might like to see a little bit of variety whilst I'm talking to the camera, and my presentation is down here on the iPad, by the way, as I'm talking through to the camera that's in front of me. So look, at the end of the day, the key thing is that people don't like shaky cam because it makes them feel sick. They would like clear sound so they can hear what you're talking about. But remember, quite a lot of them watch with the sound off. So it does make sense if you're going to repurpose your content that you put captions on it afterwards. Similarly, and interestingly, there are plenty of businesses around now where you can sign up to hire kit and even space to use for your video content. So, you know, the guys that I know who run the business in the UK with the biggest marketing conference, Atomicon, that's coming up in June, Andrew and Pete, they hire a studio for their podcast episodes to be recorded because, you know, you have professional engineers with the setup and everything exactly how you need it. You just walk in, sit down, do your thing. Whereas in my room here at my home office, you know, most of this setup is static. So all of the things that you can see in this shot. So the lights up here, and there's another one over there. There's a sort of a light across the monitor here. There's a camera here, which is the main one that I'm using most of the time. My microphone's up out of shot here. There's a second camera here in the shot with a teleprompter on it, as you can see, and I've got these sort of control panels down the bottom, which are the ones that are allowing me to do things like this and switch back to this camera. All of that, sorry, mixed myself up here. All of this setup is static. The lights are fixed to the desk. The microphone is fixed to the same piece of apparatus that the camera is on. The monitors here, these things don't go anywhere. So all I've got to do is come in and sort of plug in my laptop and put my phone on the stand and turn on a couple of lights, and off we go. So my recommendation here really is that you think about whether or not it's you've got a space in your own home or in your business that you can set up to use for doing these things. Each step that you take to just incrementally improve the production quality, um, if you buy a half decent microphone, or if you do end up buying a different camera, or if you do get into buying some software to use for the editing purposes, or you feed a feed a presentation in from another device, all these things incrementally improve the quality of what you're putting out there. But you don't have to start there. Just start by taking your device and turn it around and turn it on and record something or go live. Now, here's some tips that I've picked up from people along the way and things that get on my nerves. So the one thing that I see most people do that really kind of bugs me is they don't clean the camera lens. Now, it's especially important when you are using your iPhone or, sorry, mobile device, because that thing is in and out of your pocket during the day and you're getting your fingers on it all the time. It's grubby. So it makes sense. If you're going to do something with a live video, just turn your phone around, breathe on the microphones, breathe on the lenses, wipe them on a clean piece of cloth, and just get rid of any smudges and finger marks. And it makes a huge difference to the clarity and the quality of the image on screen for people that are watching. As I said, get yourself a basic tripod. There are tons of them on the market that don't need to cost you a lot of money. If you don't have lights like the key lights that I have in the studio here, well, if you are going to do video during the daytime, stand near a window and just use the natural daylight. If you stand outside, the light is particularly harsh, especially if you're in a sunny country and the sun is high in the sky. That can be a bit problematic. But if you stand indoors near a window, then you usually get a soft diffused light, which is really quite cool for giving you ample illumination, ample lighting in your shot. Okay. And as I said here, focus on the message before fancy effects. So yes, I've got some slides here, and that might be a bit dull, I apologize, but I'd rather that you could read these slides and just understand the message that I'm trying to put across than have all the whiz-bang features and functions going on all the time, you know, like, well, applause, for example. Every time I change a slide, I don't think we need that, okay? Good, clear sound matters more than picture quality. And if you've got the resources, then maybe think about investing in a dedicated space. All right, we haven't got too many questions coming in, so I'm going to keep pressing on. Just a reminder, if you do have a question, then please do put it into the chat on YouTube and preface it with the letter Q, and then I will get to it. And if you're watching on the replay, I'll also watch the replay back and I'll answer questions that come up along the way as well. So don't think that it won't get seen. When you're building a YouTube channel, you're looking at every single comment, you're looking at every piece of feedback, and you're trying to learn and improve all the time. Now, the other key obstacle that I raised earlier about going live is that people tend to struggle with getting out of their own way. That's the way that I like to phrase this. We are scared about speaking in public. We feel very anxious or self-conscious. How do we look on camera? How are we dressed? Do I even need to be on camera, etc., etc.? And the key message I have for you here is, I'm sorry, but it's not about you. And that might sound harsh and it may not translate very well if you're not a native English speaker, but the point I'm trying to make here is you are the vehicle for transmitting the message. But the person who's receiving the message is the one that you should be focused on. If you show up with the intention of helping the person on the other side of the camera and talking directly to you, yeah, then it doesn't matter really how I look or feel, because I should be coming to this with the energy of helping you. My own ego then takes a back seat, especially if I'm into my messaging and I'm into flow and I'm helping you and we're having a dialogue and whatever. We get past all the hang-ups about how do you feel. I would probably return to this at some future time, but really, I think the key point is trying to get past your inhibitions. Try to go beyond thinking about how are you going to come across, because I hate to break it to you that the person who's watching you isn't, they might subconsciously, quickly, you know, based on their biases and culture and all the rest of it, make some judgments, but ultimately they're here to figure out whether you can help them. And so that's what they're listening for. That's what you need to get to. So we all get nervous, sweaty palms and shaking a little bit before going live or whatever. That's nervous energy. It's excitement. If you can reframe it as excitement, as opposed to like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Just take a breath. Think about why you're doing this. Steady yourself. Think of it as excitement and just press on. Okay. Because as you get into flow, your anxiety will fade into the background. Okay. All right, good. And as I've said before, video is a fantastic medium for communication because when we're talking about feelings, the majority of what we're communicating is coming across through body language and non-verbal signals. So video is the only medium that really works for that. I've just seen a typo on the slide. Apologies for that. Actually, no, there isn't one. I thought there was a typo in the subject. There isn't. Anyway, here's a few tips that I've picked up about the self-conscious side of things, about the nerves, about, you know, getting out of your own way, etc. So how about I turn around and talk to this camera a little bit? Oh, you can't see me. All right, I'll do this one over here instead. So for this one, I'm going to say to you, breathe. First and foremost, breathe. It's really important. You steady yourself, take a breath, and let it out. And you do that 2 or 3 times before you really start doing your live content. It will steady you. It will put you in a far better place so that you can then just be in tune with your energy and the message that you're here to share. The second point on the slide was around focusing on one person. Right now, I'm having a conversation with you, whoever you are right now, be it Rachel, or be it Ben, or be it Paul, or be it Sharon, or be it somebody else. I'm having a conversation in my mind just with you. I'm here to help you. And that focus means that I cut everything else out, which can mean I miss some of the questions scrolling by. But if I'm in the moment and I'm talking to you, then that's going to help get me out of my own way. And I'm then focused on you and supporting you. Next, I would talk about pace. So I'd love to know in the comments when you watch this back, if you're watching the recording, for example, how do you find the pace of my delivery, the speed with which I'm giving this talk? Obviously, don't want to lull you to sleep by talking too slowly, but also I don't want to lose you if you can't understand my accent, or if I'm clipping words, I'm, what's the word I'm looking for? Mumbling. If I'm not making myself clear, the pace of delivery is a key part of how to communicate that message with you. Now, I am stood up, which is one of the key tips that I have learned along the way. When you are stood, I can move around just a little bit subtly. So movement and standing up were the two final points on this slide, which we'll come back to in just a second. But the key point here is, if I'm stood up, then my energy is very different than if I'm sat down, slumped in a chair. I can move around this small space if I wish, and at the same time, you need a bit of stimulation, you need a bit of movement from me, which is also why this camera angle is a bit better, because it's a little bit wider, so you see a little bit more of me. But yeah, let's come back to the content. Those are the points that I was going to share with you in terms of tips that I've picked up around getting out of your own way. Now, as I've said before, I don't see too many questions today. But if you would like a copy of these slides, or if you'd like to know more about kind of the kit that I use, if you have questions, then you can either put them into the YouTube chat channel, so on the side or underneath the video that you're watching. And also you could email me if you wish, the address that's on the screen. And if you follow me on LinkedIn already, then you can DM me over there too. So there are a variety of different ways that you can get hold of me. And obviously, I said before that I'm a business growth coach and strategist. So I'm looking to work with more ambitious founders and growth-minded leaders of software and services companies. If anything that I've said here today kind of resonates with you and you think, yeah, we kind of like to hear a bit more from Ryan, then why not subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit the notify bell on the next video. I'm doing another of these live shows in 2 weeks. There won't be one next week. So 2 weeks from now on the Wednesday will be my next live show. And in the meantime, like I said before, when you watch this back, and I would encourage you to go over it again, because I do think there are some useful tips in there that might just help you take the first steps on your journey with live video. I think that live video is a phenomenal strategy for any business that wants to connect with a broader audience, or to connect on a deeper level with your audience, because, well, frankly, in this day and age, we need to know that the person that we're doing business with is a good human being, a genuine, real human being, not an AI video bot. Nothing against AI video bots, just not what I'm here to talk about. I would much rather build a deeper, authentic connection with my audience, and that's why I think YouTube or live video on any platform that you choose is a really good investment of your time and energy. And as I've tried to show today, it does not need to be complicated or particularly expensive. You can start small, you can start with the phone in your pocket, and if you focus on service and trying to help the one person who's at the other end of the lens or the screen that's watching you, you're here to help them, then your personal concerns and nerves and hang-ups will fade. They won't necessarily disappear, but they will definitely fade. They will take a back seat because you're here in service of somebody else. So look, I hope that's been useful for you. I thank you very much indeed for watching, and I invite you to tune in next time. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks.